Well, it's another Sunday night, February 26, 2012. This is the Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, on Orion Talk Radio, oriontalkradio.com. You know, a number of people on our station here have listened to us talk about 9/11 and quite a few other false flags that have gone on. And tonight, for the next 2 hours, joining me will be Holland Vandennieuwenhof. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And he will be with me for the next 2 hours, and we're going to talk about Oklahoma City. We're going to cover about the false flag, and I hope you enjoy this show. So, Holland, how are you?
Outstanding. Thank you for having me on, Ken.
Oh, that's my pleasure, my pleasure. Just to give a little background to the people, how'd you get started in making films?
Well, we originally didn't start out trying to make a film. I started out as a researcher on the Oklahoma City bombing case, collaborating with the members of the Oklahoma Bombing Investigation Committee, set up by State Representative Charles Key. And the massive evidence had been compiled in a book published by the bombing committee called Final Report in 2001. It came out about 3 weeks before 9/11. And but since then, such a new flood of information had come forth about the bombing, especially the case of Jesse Trentadue, which we cover in the movie, that we decided a reissue of the information, updated, needs to be done to let people know that there's so much evidence contrary to the official story. And it seemed that a movie would be the best way to do that, a documentary. So we compiled enough resources, enough talent, and it took us about 2 years, and we released December of last year.
You know, that's a heck of an undertaking, because there was a lot of evidence in that. I know when it first happened, like a lot of people, I bought the government line on that it was a terrorist attack, until I started looking at things and started reading some things, and especially looking at the photographs of the Murrah Federal Building. It just didn't look like a truck bomb could do that much damage.
Well, yeah, it's the official story of the Oklahoma City bombing is that an exterior truck bomb loaded with ammonium nitrate and diesel fuel did the damage to the Murrah building. But it's that damage to the building is inconsistent with an exterior truck bomb. The crater in the street is offset from the major damage to the Murrah building, dramatically so. That's one reason they demolished the whole building a month later. While there were bodies still inside yet to be recovered, they were very eager to dispose of that evidence.
Yeah, the thing that kind of got me with that is as I looked at the photograph of the building, and it was, you could see where only one area was really blown out. I mean, where they took the columns out and everything. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the photographs and you can see exactly where the truck was at, that wasn't even in the center of where that truck, I mean, the truck was parked back from that area somewhat.
Exactly. The damage is asymmetric to the truck. All the frontal support columns failed, and then on the northeast side, a huge divot was carved into the building that went almost all the way to the other side. There was about 18 inches left of ledge, almost to the other side of the building. And that divot is offset from the truck bomb. For the purpose of this movie, we interviewed General Benton K. Parton. He was head of Air Force weapons development and spent his career blowing things up and doing bomb damage analysis for the military. He came to Oklahoma City, he looked at the evidence, and he issued his Parton report. And he talks about the fact that the blast wave from an ammonium truck bomb would have been about 10 times less powerful than it was necessary to dissolve the concrete and cut the rebar, and that there must have been at least 4 explosive charges placed on key supporting columns. These steel reinforced buildings do not fail completely due to exterior truck bombs, and the Murrah building had been built with bomb resistance in mind.
You know, the General Parton, he was the director of the Air Force Armament Technology Lab, wasn't he?
Yes, and he was one of the military's premier experts on weapons and bomb damage analysis. That's what he did in the desert of New Mexico, blowing things up, small cities, mock-ups, blowing them up and doing damage analysis. In fact, the Air Force themselves, the Elgin Air Force Base Wright Armament Laboratory, Air Force engineers they conducted a simulation of the Oklahoma City bombing with a test structure and an exterior bomb. And when they built it according to how the FBI and Tim McVeigh said they did, with a dozen barrels packed with ANFO, they found that each barrel acted as a separate bomb. It rendered it almost completely useless and did nothing to their test structure. So they actually built a single, more powerful 4,000-pound bomb. And what they found was that it did less damage to their very simple test structure than what we see at Oklahoma City. Then they exploded bombs inside the test structure to test the theory that there were bombs inside the Murrah building. And the Air Force at the Elgin Air Force Base, Wright Armament Laboratory's own report, they say that there were bombs inside the building. And this is contrary to the official story and everything the Justice Department and the FBI has been saying for 16 years.
Yeah, that like I say, it kind of got me when I looked at the building, and I did read an article that was written about General Parton, and found it interesting that an Air Force general of this stature would come out and say, no, this just doesn't happen that way. But my question to you, and I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, what exactly would the government have had to gain, or what was in the building in that area that was so heavily damaged that the government didn't want us to know about?
Well, for the purposes of the movie, and for those who are interested in checking out the trailer, you can go to anoblelie.com. You can check out the trailer, of course, make your purchase there. But what exactly happened? Well, we didn't have room for speculation. But what we did put in the movie, and what we know to be true, is that the government was very concerned about certain documents in that building, to the extent that they halted rescue efforts to pull documents out. In fact, we interview Police Officer Don Browning, who was one of the first on the scene with this canine rescue dog. And he says he recalls how he was told by a female FBI agent to cease all rescue, and until certain documents that were so important to the government were recovered, there would be no further rescue. This is while people are bleeding inside. We interview Police Officer Craig Roberts. He was actually asked by the FBI to assist him on the case because of his reputation and his skills. And he quit the case after a couple of weeks because the FBI was lying to him. But he was getting calls from FBI, actually from federal agents in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they told him that when the Clintons left Arkansas to go to D.C. to assume the presidency, all the records related to the ongoing Whitewater investigation were moved to the Murrah building. So exactly why? When you see that a cause is contrived and a cover-up is an effect, you can guess that the end effect was the motive. We saw the demonization of the Patriot movement. We saw the passage of anti-terror legislation. We saw the inauguration of America into this new age of terror. Before Oklahoma City, for people living in the war on terror these days, it's hard to remember a time in this country when we weren't constantly in fear of terror attack. But that was what we were before Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's almost like their test case was Waco, and then they got Oklahoma City going to start getting people to think in that mindset. And you're absolutely right. There are people today that have never lived outside of a terrorist situation. This entire interview with Holland Vandennieuwenhof can be heard at theinformationnation.com, or you can download it to your computer through iTunes. It's a free download. You can download it to your computer, your iPhone, your iPod, your iPad, and listen to it at your convenience.